was to say, okay, well, what exactly are these C's, these consequences that tend to get in the way of our happiness and productivity and performance? In other words, our resilience. And what we came up with was the big seven. There are seven big emotions that tend to get in the way of our emotion regulation and therefore get in the way of our resilience. And they are anger, anxiety, frustration, sadness, guilt, embarrassment, and shame. And for each one of those emotions, there's a very specific thought that leads to it. So in the case of anger, it's because we have a thought that our rights have been violated. Whereas anxiety, as we've discussed, is much more about future threat, the what next piece. Frustration is when we have the belief that we don't have the resources we need to get a job done. Sadness comes about because of thoughts about loss. And so often when we're in the workplace and confronted with change, we focus on what that change is going to rob us of. And that's going to lead to sadness. In the case of guilt, and my wife is a maestro at this, in the case of guilt, it's around thoughts that you violated the rights of another, embarrassment that you've lost standing in front of other people, and shame, the final of the seven, is about failing to meet your own standards of how you should be in the world. Now, the fact is that each and every one of us develops in childhood a radar, a way of scanning our world. We call that an emotion radar. And it's going to be one of those sorts of belief systems. I'm scanning for violation of rights. I'm scanning for future threat. I'm scanning for loss. And what we know is that people tend to have one that dominates. So they can say, I'm an anger person. I can say, well, that's because you've learned to scan for violation of rights.